Welcome back to Decoder. Now, this snippet attempts to understand how the American Electoral College vote system works. Why, for instance, Kamala Harris could win more popular votes than Donald Trump, but still lose the presidency. We also look at whether the American system is really as unfair as it's made out to be. Now, across America's 50 states and one district, that is Washington, D.C., there are approximately 240 million eligible voters, but only roughly about 160 million Americans actually go out and vote. As many as 18 million Americans don't bother. But that's a turnout of 67%, which actually is about the global average turnout for democracies. Now, under the US system, these 160 million voters do not directly vote for the president. They vote for and create an electoral college system of 538 votes, or we can call them seats. It is these 538 electoral college votes or seats that finally decide who the next president will be. While these are normally called electoral college votes, for simplicity and clarity, we will refer to these as electoral college seats. To become US president, therefore, a candidate needs the support of a majority of the 538 electoral college seats. Since the halfway mark of 538 is 269, to become president, Kamala Harris or Trump need at least 270 electoral college seats. These 538 electoral college seats are elected by the people in a unique system that was first introduced in America 235 years ago. Now, as it operates today, each of the 50 states and the District of Columbia is allocated a fixed number of electoral college seats. For example, a big state like California has 54 electoral college seats, while a smaller state like Georgia has 16 electoral college seats. Now, adding up all the electoral college seats of all the states, you get to the total of 538. Now, how do electoral college seats in each state decide which candidate to support? This unique system has a winner-takes-all rule. Whoever wins the most votes in a state, even if it's just a 1% lead, that candidate gets all of the electoral college or the seats in that state. For example, if Kamala Harris wins California by 48% of the votes compared with 45% of the votes for Trump, the rule is that all 54 of California's electoral college seats are committed to vote for Harris. Or if Trump wins Florida by even a 1% margin, all of Florida's 30 electoral college seats go to Trump. So in this election, every state in America has a fixed number of electoral college seats. And as you can see from this table, of the 51 states and the District of Columbia, the number of electoral college seats that a state has does not always correspond exactly with the number of eligible voters in that state. For instance, in Pennsylvania, for every 500,000 voters represented by one electoral college seat, while in Wyoming, every 150,000 voters are represented by one electoral seat. 500,000 compared to 150,000, that is the inconsistency that people claim makes this system unfair. Many analysts claim that these state-by-state differences in voters per electoral college seat are not just a random inconsistency. In the conversion of popular votes into electoral college seats, many suggest that the Republicans appear to have a clear advantage, a kind of a bias. Take the election of Hillary Clinton versus Trump in 2016. The people of America gave Clinton a clear victory in the popular vote. Clinton won 48.2% of the vote compared with only 46.1% for Trump, which meant Clinton had a clear 2.1% lead over Trump in terms of votes cast. But here comes the American twist. Despite Clinton's lead in the popular vote, Trump won more electoral college seats, 304 versus Clinton's 227. So having crossed the 270 mark that's needed to win, Trump became president. Over the years, the states and voters of America have segregated themselves into kind of three political divides. One, states that repeatedly vote Republican. Second category, states that repeatedly vote Democrat. And the swing states that oscillate between Republican and Democrat. There are 25 states that are considered red. That's Republican, from Wyoming to Florida, which the Republicans have won with margins from as high as an average of 45% in Wyoming to Florida, which is generally seen as Republican but has recently had a narrow lead of just 2%. On the other hand, there are 18 states that are generally considered to be blue or Democrat states, as they repeatedly vote Democrats as the winning party. This blue category includes the largest state in America, California, with an eligible voter population of 25 million and 54 electoral college seats. The third category are the swing states, which may be few states in number, only 8 states, but are the most important states in these elections. These 8 swing states is where the 2024 election will be won or lost. The approach of both the campaigns is not to focus on their own steadfast party states. These Harris and Trump take for granted, as they will vote for their party anyway, so they don't campaign there. It's also don't focus on the opposing party's loyal states. It's felt that campaigns can't really switch the voters' minds back to your party. The focus is always on winning the swing states. Trump and the Republicans do start with an advantage, with 223 electoral college seats in the bag from their 25 Republican states. Compared with that, Kamala Harris and the Democrats start with a foundation of 212 electoral college seats from their 18 committed blue states. So with this foundation, both Trump and Harris targeting the 103 electoral college seats in the swing states to try and get as large a slice of these as possible. Campaigning in the swing states also has an advantage. These states have fewer voters to target, while the Republican states have a total of about 97 million eligible voters, and the Democrat states have about 93 million eligible voters. The swing states have a pool of only 47 million out of the 240 million eligible voters across America. Now, the question is, does the Electoral College system per state benefit the Republican, and does it work against the Democrat? In other words, are the Democrat states represented by fewer Electoral College seats for every million voters than the Republican states? In fact, the charge that the Republicans benefit unfairly from the system may not be wholly true. Focusing on the entire electorate of the eligible voters in the Republican state, 437,000 voters are represented by one electoral seat. This is not significantly different from the Democrats, in which 438,000 voters are represented by one electoral college seat. This is clearly a fair and balanced system. In fact, it is the swing states which have the most unfair ratio of voters, with 456,000 voters per electoral college seat. But these swing states are not biased one way or other towards any party. But if you look at the number of actual voters, forget eligible voters, actual voters, it's clear that the Republicans get more electoral college seats for every 1,000 popular votes. For example, on average, for every 273,000 votes, the Republicans win one electoral college seat. On the other hand, 273,000 votes don't get the Democrats even one electoral college seat. In fact, Democrats need as many as 310,000 votes for them to win even one electoral college seat on average. So this seems to give the Republicans an advantage. So why is it that the system is fair and balanced when it comes to eligible voters, but the system seems unfair and biased in favor of Republicans when it comes to actual voters? There are at least two clear factors that lead to this difference. First, the Democrat voters have a higher turnout than Republican voters. While Democrat states have a turnout of 69%, Republican states have a turnout of only 62%. This difference, of course, affects the number of voters per electoral college seat. A difference that's not really caused by the system, but it's still unfair. The second reason why Democrats have a higher number of voters than Republicans, but not necessarily a higher number of electoral college seats, relates to the margins of victory. As we pointed out, under the American system, the party that wins by even 1% of the vote wins all the electoral college seats in that state. So any margin that's higher than 1% does not result in any additional electoral college seats. The Republicans win their states with an average margin of 14%, but the Democrats have a much higher margin of victory of 20%. So the fact that the Democrats win their states by much larger margins of victory than Republicans, in effect means a larger number of Democrat votes virtually go to waste, because those extra votes do not win anything extra in terms of the electoral college seats. In essence, these extra wasted votes of the Democrats lead to a nationwide, rather meaningless lead of 2.5 to 3% for the Democrats that don't get converted into electoral college seats. In conclusion, the question is, how many of the electoral college seats in the swing states do Harris or Trump need to hit to get to the 270 mark and become the next president? As we explained earlier, the Republicans have a bigger foundation with 223 almost already in the bag. Trump now needs to win only 47 out of the 103 seats in the swing states. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, needs to win 58 of these 103 seats in the swing states to hit the winning 270 mark. Now, is it possible that both Kamala Harris and Trump will end up with exactly the same number of electoral college seats? Would that result in chaos? Yes, there is a chance, albeit a small chance, that the presidential election this time could end in a tie. Hypothetically, with Trump winning Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Nevada, and Harris winning Georgia, North Carolina, Minnesota, and Michigan. Both Kamala Harris and Trump then would end up with 269 electoral college seats each. If that happens, your guess is as good as mine as to what the claims and counterclaims would be. It could get really nasty. Of course, there's only a remote chance of a tie. What is perhaps marginally more likely is what the pollsters are saying is correct at the moment. There are still a few days left for voting there, and most opinion polls may, in fact, will change. But for now, this is how the result of the 2024 US election is currently lining up according to key pollsters. And it doesn't get closer than this. If the polls are right, and that is a major assumption, Harris is currently winning 272 electoral college seats, just 3 votes ahead of the halfway mark of 269. And Trump is at 266 according to the pollsters, 3 votes behind the halfway mark. Probably the closest race in American election history. It doesn't get better than this.